I'm not gonna worry about your level of concern.
Yoy and double yoy.
We talking about
Twitter.
Triple yoy.
Think of how stupid the average person is, and then realize half of them are stupider than that.
Quadruple yoy.
I believe in the United States of America, and I believe in the Pittsburgh Steelers.
Coach T, besides my Lord and Savior, Coach T saved me.
Let Matt Canada cook.
All right, it's time for What Jin's Talking About. The conversation about the Steelers' social media conversation, exposing all the hot and toxic takes. I'm Kyle Kreis. Here with me is Greg Benevent.
Hello.
On the ones and twos, center field, number 18, Andy Van.
Hey.
We got a big. I think we got a big show today.
I think we do too.
Because it's just so much has been going on.
Honest to God.
I'm gonna tease the player that the Steelers did dirty in these cuts. Okay, and it's not, it's not Kendrick Green, it's not Dotson, it's not whatever. But I've never seen the Steelers do someone this dirty.
Okay.
Also, the Vegas odds are sneaky Vegas odds. We know Vegas thinks 9 wins, but I found some sneakier Vegas odds that might have good news for
even better
for Los Steelers fans. But it's last week we talked about the hype, and I didn't think the hype could get any bigger, but I think the hype is even bigger this week.
I think so too.
Chewy, hit the hyperdrive. Oh, Chewy. All right. The hyperdrive might be dying, but the takes sure aren't. Let's get to the takes. First up, Dejan Kovacevic at Dejan_Kovacevic. This is the greatest first team preseason in the history of everything.
He's kind of right. I mean, it's because that's just the thing. I mean, what we kind of get hung up on when they have the really good preseason is that, like, does this guarantee success in the regular season? Absolutely not. But that having been said, you can't say the first team preseason could have gone much better. The only thing is to maybe say the running game could have looked a little bit better at times. But then as soon as I said that, I remembered Jaylen Warren, I think, is still running to Buffalo. So no, yes, this is true. I mean, you can't statistically have a better first team preseason than this.
So no matter how this season goes, are we going to look back at August of 2023 and with fond memories?
I think we're going to forget it by the third quarter of the Niners game. But I mean, for now, and this bizarre 17-day layover that I think we've concluded the greatest first team preseason in the history of anything. I think all it's kind of led to, and it's just hit me now, is a different kind of tension. Like before, the tension was this team good enough versus now it's, oh my God, is this team going to live up to these expectations? I think that's a very different tension.
Well, that's not even, the hottest take. Let's see if there's anything hotter.
He's heating up.
We've got at the Pony Express, Andrew Filipponi. Steelers offense is going to shock the football world. What is it, like the like Little Giants with Rick Moranis, where this team is just going to rise from out of nowhere and get their act together?
Well, I mean, one, I don't know if it's necessarily out of nowhere at this point, and two, I mean, usually Filipponi, who's very good at throwing out the hot take that gets. I mean, we mentioned the guy once a week. We've done this now for almost 2 years, which is kind of depressing now that I said. But I think shock the football world, even in all caps, is a very vague term. I mean, that doesn't necessarily mean, 30 points a game. I think, we've said, because I've heard smarter people than me say it, that if the Steelers finish in the top half of offense, then this team should be very good. And I would find that quite shocking to the football world.
When we started 13-0 or whatever a couple of years back, that was the most shocking of an offense we've had in a while. But I still don't feel like that was world shocking.
I don't think it was world shocking because it wasn't like they were blowing a lot of teams out. Even then, even before you started to see the rust in that team, like the weird comeback against the Cowboys and the, struggling against the Ravens and all that. But it was, that team was just doing just enough enough to win. It just happened to do it 13 times in a row.
And I don't need us to shock,
Right.
you know? I just need us to win.
Yes,
right?
exactly. But shock the football world could be, keep continually winning games, especially if you think this team's going to win 9 games and the offense comes out as pretty hot, then you could stand to be shocked.
I don't know that I have an opinion that's worth expressing.
Yeah, same. I don't know about the shock factor. But that's not even the hottest take. Finish him. We've got at Boston Connor football.
What a great name. It's football. Did you talk to him?
I know it's preseason, but the Steelers might win 18 games in the regular season somehow this year. Screw 17-0, which has never happened.
Right.
We're going to do 18-0.
I like to think that Mr. Football is doing this to mock the runaway hype, but perhaps he's not. I will say that, and I've kind of come around to this in the last week or so, is that it's okay to let yourself get carried away right now. It really sort of is. I mean, for a team that has been, for, the word that dare not speak its name, rebuilding for a couple years, and maybe they're at the end of that process, maybe they're just another step past it, I think it's okay to get hyped.
Okay, all right.
We mock ourselves.
Well, I'll mock
Exactly.
myself then. I'm feeling hyped too.
I know you are. I didn't mean to imply that you weren't.
And this is this isn't hotter than those takes, but I think this is similarly hot. At WPXI, the final word. Tonight's topic, Adam Crowley on Twitter said Steelers wideout George Pickens will be a top 5 receiver in the NFL this season. Agree or disagree? I mean, that might shock me.
Yeah, I think I would be pretty shocked too, because that doesn't necessarily mean they're winning a lot of games. And it also doesn't necessarily mean that the offense is like great. But yeah, I mean, it's just because then that means he's getting the ball a lot more than Deontay, but you also do still have to get the ball to, Pat, and you're running the ball with Najee a lot, which they're very intent on doing. So for I would be genuinely shocked to see that one as well.
Yeah, I'm kind of, we don't really talk stats or fantasy, but I don't expect any single Steeler, maybe Najee might be the closest. I don't expect some kind of like stat monster to arise, even if we're a top 15 offense.
Right, and I think you kind of hit where I was going with it, whereas like the one I really could see is Najee, if they do run the offense as much through him as they'd like to, particularly with everything they've done with the offensive line.
We've got, you can't ignore the Kenny hype.
Oh my God!
Groomed Kenny.
I still think that's Vincent Price. I could be wrong.
The Kenny hype continues at Pickensburg Tino. I'm being completely honest. After watching this last preseason game, give me Kenny Pickett over Patrick Mahomes. I've seen enough. It's like he has been on the level of next level. It looks like he is kind of becoming a next level quarterback.
It's okay for you to think that Pickett is a franchise caliber quarterback. It's good to think that. I mean, Mahomes is an all-time great at the absolute prime of his powers. I mean, that's absurd. But the idea that Pickett has taken a step forward is to become not just a legitimate starter, but someone that makes the players around him better. I think that's something you really can entertain as a fan. I mean, it is something that hits me when I read these tweets, is that like when the team is losing, social media kind of feeds into this vortex where it's like there's a competition to say the most negative thing, and then when it goes in the opposite direction, there's a similar instinct there as well to who could say the most positive thing. Well, I think Pickett's a franchise quarterback. Well, I think he's better than Mahomes. Well, I think George Pickens is an offensive MVP. Like, it just, that is the same thing that says like, oh, you should fire everybody and move the team to Washington County. It's that same instinct, just applied in a different direction.
And I think Tomlin is the greatest Steelers coach. Who's ready to go with that with me? Because if we turn this team into a real contender, and it's like a complete transformation when we only had, you could say, one off year. I mean, sure, we've had 5 years without a playoff win, but only last year was maybe the off year. I don't know.
That would be the one with the rookie quarterback. Yeah. I mean, no, if they're a very good team this year, that changes. I don't know if it necessarily changes a lot of narratives, but it's truly an impressive accomplishment.
How about at JASRI football, JPA football, visual proof of just how excellent Steelers quarterback Kenny Pickett was. First in yards per attempt, first in first down percentage, a perfect 158.3 passer rating, second in completion percentages, 0 turnovers, multiple touchdowns. I mean, the stats don't lie.
Right. Oh yeah. No. I mean, it's totally acceptable to think he's taken a step forward. I don't know if you mentioned it, but it's everyone has to throw out that same thing about how the years that the Lions and the Browns won 0 games, they went 4-0 in the preseason. But there's a very big difference in winning a preseason game versus doing it in the fourth quarter versus the first quarter, where it actually does mean something versus when it really doesn't.
Yeah.
And
fourth quarter on the road in a division's opponent. Yeah.
Right. Exactly. So I mean, in the preseason, so that means a lot. So it's, I mean, obviously the Buccaneers and the Falcons maybe aren't the best teams in the NFL. I get that. But I mean, this Steelers schedule is easier than it's been in the last so many years. There's not every single team is the Chiefs or the Eagles.
Allegedly,
or the Bills.
yeah. Well, just because he's QB1 and he's about to be the next gold jacket, he's still making some rookie mistakes out there. He's now look, of course, your franchise quarterback is going to endorse. We already know
they should.
He's got those energy bars that we showed with the giant hands.
Yeah. We're like, what? Yeah.
He's got the car dealership that got his car stolen from, right?
Yes.
So yeah, he's lining up the endorsements. But this one, I don't know. He's it's now Levin Furniture.
Okay.
Let's take a listen here.
Sure.
Started looking for furniture. We were really drawn to Levin because of their shared values as us and giving back into the community.
Okay, let's pause it there. Okay. Oh, come on. All the tech is going wrong. So they really love Levin Furniture.
That is a weird, ugly bed, seat. What is that? Like,
I mean, come on. He's showing up for the commercial shoot in. Looks like he just got out of the gym with these shorts.
Yeah,
I think if he leans back any further, I'm going to see his Xavier Grimble.
It is, again, that is an odd piece of furniture I would not want in my house. It looks like you're thinking like, oh, you forgot to put a cover on it. I guess is it a bed?
It's like those Tempur-Pedic mattresses that you can't get up, But it's like, all right, Kenny, come on.
It looks like the kind of thing that like if I had it and I had a guest sleep on it, like I'd be qualifying a lot to be like, yeah, it was on sale. I mean, you're just staying here for a night. So yeah,
I mean, look, I'm a Levin. Well, I'm not a Levin shopper. I'm more of a Gabe's shopper myself.
Okay. Nothing wrong with
But
Gabe's.
if I go up to Mount Pleasant and get some Levin furniture, you could see that. But Kenny Pickett, the $7 million bonus, is not buying the $300 sofa.
I don't know. I mean, I could see. I mean, I think that, but then every time I see them get on the plane, they're all carrying grocery bags with their big expensive suitcases. So I mean, maybe not, but those plastic bags. But no, I mean, it's. I did notice from what we've seen of this ad, I heard a lot of his wife talking and not so much of Kenny. Like at him kind of smiling or just kind of sitting there. Oh, there's Kenny saying something.
Oh yeah. Let's keep it going here. Let's see if we got
And once we got here, we realized their wide selection and great customer service, and it was a no-brainer.
On the field, I'm pretty used to giving out directions, and then off the field, especially designing a home, I kind of revert to the experts and.
Yeah, designing a home and maybe dressing up in public.
That's true. She wore a nice. I mean, she wore jeans, but she wore a blazer. All this. He very much rolled out of bed.
If I'm Levin, if I'm Charles Levin, there, I'm like, I mean, maybe some slacks and a button down or something.
I mean, the t-shirt's fine, but even just like sweats, like it's something. I mean, she's wearing jeans. I mean, maybe you didn't want to have both people in jeans, but I could see slacks too.
Look at that watch he's wearing. His watch costs more than the couch they sell at Levin.
Oh, absolutely, 100%. Yes. It's no, but I did like that she got to, and also it's just interesting in the dialogue, like she got to say the things that would actually get endued under furniture, and he had to do multiple takes of on the field I'm a leader, but here when it comes to furniture I defer to the experts. Like
I'm not buying it. I'm not buying that you're a Levin shopper. I mean. Look, and Levin does support, they support the
they're good
symphony,
causes,
the
yeah.
Red Cross,
Levin does
Children's
right by the
Hospital.
people. Yeah.
But that's not full, okay? Or maybe just snazz it up, Kenny. I don't know. I don't know what I got.
Well, but it's like everything else we're talking about. Okay, this is part of the grooming process. This is something you're developing. I mean, this is how it starts with the local furniture place, and then hopefully soon it's some bigger national campaign.
Let's take a break early because we've got this new HelloFresh sponsor. If you're watching on the network, we got the HelloFresh sponsorship. And look, I've been doing HelloFresh since before the pandemic because when the run on the grocery stores went, I was like, this is how I'm gonna do it.
Good.
But now they're offering a free breakfast for every new subscriber, and I'm like, well, what about the lifetime subscribers over here?
You deserve some eggs.
That's going to be my new slogan. I deserve some eggs. All right, coming up in the second half, the dirtiest. The Steelers have done a player dirty, like never before. Okay, we'll be back.
Did you bring the peanuts, pretzels, popcorn? Did you bring the burgers?
Where's the beer?
Did you bring the ketchup, mustard, pickles? Did you bring the pumper?
Yeah, it's here.
Did you bring the Icy Light Iron City pumper?
Can't forget the pumper.
One of each.
Did you bring the ice to chill the pumper?
Yeah.
When you want a cold one, just reach. Have a picnic, have a party, call the people, tap the pumper, have a pumper party. Did you bring the pumper? Did you bring the pumper? Did you bring the pumper? Yeah.
It's more than the second half. It's the 3 quarters left in the show.
Two-thirds. The second and third period, like a hockey game.
Oh, there we go. All right, we promised roster talk, right?
Okay.
Everyone wants to talk rosters. The rosters are here. 53 men are here.
Wow.
This is when, if anything, I think this is when the insiders should have some inside information.
Okay.
Whether or not we're going to keep this player or not. If anything, an insider should know who are the players to be kept and who are the players to be cut.
The only thing I can see, the only counter argument I can see to that, and it's not a strong one, is that with this one cut down day, it's not. I mean, and obviously some teams are cutting players, and the Steelers were days ahead of time, where it's like that giant crush of all these dudes are available. I can see, well, we didn't know that guy was going to be available, so we signed him, like that King gentleman they brought in the other day.
Yeah.
But I mean, this would be one where you'd like to think, because I mean, they want the players to know too as soon as possible so that they can find somewhere. So yeah, so I can see your point there.
My hypothesis is there are no insiders,
Right.
at least in the Steelers, and I think this proves it. Let's get to at @DLawley_PGH, Dale Lawley, the Steelers.com reporter.
Yes,
right?
the official on the squad thing. Yeah.
Looks like the Steelers are getting a 6th-round pick for Kendrick Green from the Texans, according to Tom. So he's getting his info from someone else. You telling me that Bert can't text him like, "Hey, the cuts are in. We traded this guy."
It does seem like Bert should be able to text him. I mean, this could be a professional. What's the word I'm trying to say? A professional kindness to this Pelissaro guy. But yeah, you would think that somebody would let Dale know that they traded Kendrick away.
So I just was like, "What? You're the Steelers.com guy, and you're referencing someone else?" So that just tells me that the Steelers tight lips sink ships or something.
Yes, no, that's exactly what they do, and they're not and that's how tight the lips are. Is that? I mean, this is an amazing trade that they were able to get a 6th-round pick for Kendrick Green.
Yeah. Besides the trade is great. I'm more focused on
see, right. Oh yeah.
the lack of inside info. And when it let's look at who made all these 53-man predictions.
Okay.
And I tracked them all. I tracked Ray Fittipaldo from the PPG, Alex Kozora, Alan Popejoy from USA Today.
Oh, okay.
Chris Adamansky from the Trib. Dave Bryan, Sports Illustrated. Alan Saunders from he's WPXI. Steel Curtain Network. Okay, and who would have the best 53-man predictions? You would think some of these insiders, right?
Okay.
Turns out Steel Curtain Network really did the best.
Hey, look at us.
Yeah,
and by us I mean someone other than me. But yeah,
I didn't make any predictions.
No,
I mean,
not at all.
Not on paper. Not on paper. But some of these,
ideas.
I've I like. Let's look at the wideout. There are really only 6 rooms where there was debate on these 53-man rosters. It's like, let's look at the wideout room. Sure, Fittipaldo had all 6. So did Popejoy, Chris Adamansky, Steel Curtain Network did too.
Yeah.
Then I look at people like Alex Kozora, is like the premier mind on
Yes,
Steelers.
he does very well.
And he's like, no Gunner. And I'm thinking, ever since Kenny said Gunner is my number 4, I thought, Gunner's making this roster.
That's not going to have me think any less of Kozora, though. But I
No.
mean, the man's analysis is incredible. But yes, but that was as clear a sign then that unless something dramatic happened, they were going to keep Gunner.
Let's give Alex credit because he and Dave Bryan had Dylan Cook on there,
which is a stunning story. I mean, this guy was a quarter. I think somebody retweeted what they call Grizz in the game or Grizz in the show Montana Grizzlies to make the NFL. The actual Montana Grizzlies Twitter account put that out there, and I just like that Grizz in the game or whatever they called it. But and this guy was like their quarterback or something, and they made him into an offensive lineman, and he made an NFL roster. He beat guys that have been doing this their whole lives. Like, that's really something.
I think he was working at Walmart, maybe.
Yeah. Like, this is real American dream kind of stuff. Like,
the defensive line room was, of course, that was the big conversation. They can only keep so many of these guys. So I don't blame the people who didn't get that right, Brendan Fehoko,
Right.
But there were guys who said no to Montrevious Adams, like Pope Joy for the USA Today, and anyone else? No, that might have been the only one, but it's just like SI also had no Montrevious Adams. So I feel like I feel like he was been running with the ones the whole time.
I think that's, and I feel like I touched on this the other week, but you saying that really cements home for me is how difficult it is to determine some of these bubble guys from watching the preseason games. Because when you'd watch Adams, you're like, okay, is he running with the ones because he's actually one of the ones, or is he running with the ones because we want to see as much as possible of what he's got versus, I feel like we brought that up, and I looked at it and said, I don't know, I imagine he's on this team. But I could also have been swayed into that argument about like, okay, we're to keep trotting him out there as much as possible to see if there's something to him.
The other room, let's focus on corners because everyone was saying, how are we going to get rid of James Pierre? And I've been saying special teams counts, and that's why Pierre's been a roster lock. And so Kozora had Pierre, Pope Joy for the USA Today, Alan Saunders, and Steel Curtain Network. As we speak, he's still on the roster.
I was going to say that might have changed. They brought in that King guy. Today, tomorrow, Pierre might be 53. There's a non-zero chance of that too.
That's true. Although in this moment, I still think when it comes to inactives, I think Pierre will get the helmet for special teams, and this new addition will have to take some time to learn.
It could be. I mean, it's. I know he's someone they liked, but King. Pierre, I think is you're not going to be able to train big and fast. They've been trying to do that with Pierre for many years. It's hard to figure out exactly where those battles were, and it very well might have been Pierre versus Muse, and not Pierre versus Wallace or Pierre versus any of the other corners. And maybe Pierre, unfortunately got a break when Trice went down too.
And the fact that Joey Porter Jr. hasn't contributed to a lot of teams yet. He has some, but not a lot. Some more roster takes. At Alex Kozora. The Steelers failed Kendrick Green more than Kendrick Green failed the Steelers. They considered him a day one ready center. He was anything but. Is it that they failed him or that they just had high hopes?
I think it's where that middle ground is between the two of them. I mean, it's trotting him out there immediately and giving him Pouncey's number. In retrospect, that was maybe not the best idea. But and also he didn't play center much in college, as I remember.
At all, I don't think.
Yeah, it was a guard, and also too, this was that was still Adrian Clem, right? Was the offensive lineman then? Was it the coach then, or was it because it wasn't Meyer entirely? It might have been the other guy, Sarrett, if it wasn't Clem.
You're right. Clem was in there, but and then he left that season.
Right.
Yeah.
That's sort of where I got to the point where I kind of agree with more so that they failed Kendrick versus not. I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if Kendrick does eke out a good lengthy career somewhere else, maybe as a guard, maybe as a backup guard. I mean, what's the story? What was the guy? Craig Urbick.
Craig Urbick, yeah.
That's the one I always think of. Is that, what was he, fourth?
Third? Or was he?
He might have been a third, too. I think you're right. And it was, and he just wasn't right for the Steelers system at all and had a good career over there at, was it Broncos? Bills? Maybe both?
All right. Well, this is the moment that I've been teasing.
Please.
Because they really did do one Steeler dirty in their cut. And I'm not talking about Kendrick Green. Maybe maybe we did him wrong, but the Steeler we really did dirty, we have to go to at Three Rivers Karting. Three Rivers Karting. The Steelers loved us so much, they decided to come back for more. Once again, thank you, Steelers. They're throwing the axes. I see Terrell Austin playing beanbag toss, cornrow. What's that game called? Cornhole?
Cornhole, I think. Yeah.
And they're doing that, the go-karts.
Cool.
And this was on Sunday, right? The day after they cut 8 players. So 8 players got cut on Saturday, didn't get to go go-karting.
Right.
Even worse, though, wide receiver Aaron Cruelest,
I guess that's how you say it, yeah.
was released Sunday morning, doesn't get to go play go-karts, and they have to let him go. Everyone else is getting on the bus to go to Three Rivers Karting, and they're like, hey, go up and see Mr. Khan. Yeah. And he gets sent directly to jail. No, do not pass go.
Well, I mean, the one thing I will say is that, I mean, it's not like this is somebody who'd put real roots down in the area. I think when they cut him, he'd been on the team for 9 days at that point. That was his 9th day. I mean, obviously, that's a tough way to start the week. That is not a Sunday fun day. It's the exact antonym, in fact.
I just like, let me at least go play some cornhole.
Right, and it's true. Did you have to cut the guy before the go-karts? Like, we had 2. Maybe that's almost when they decided to do it. It's like, we got an odd number, I mean, we're going to cut this guy at 8 p.m. anyway. Maybe just, take care of it now. Huh?
So that's who I feel bad for is Mr. Cruelest. I want to invite him out here. We'll go throw some axes.
I've never done the axe throwing. So many people do it, and they say it's lovely. They say they have a real nice time.
Yeah, I don't know if I would.
See, as someone I've broken my thumb 5 or 6 times, so I can't go to the batting cages anymore. So I worry about not that throwing the axe, but I just even worry about having that thing, and I don't know.
Well, let's look at the roster right now. If because we still have 5 game day inactives through all this. If you had to guess, these are my guesses. I'm looking at Anthony McFarland. He didn't dress last year. I'm looking at Cook. Even though undrafted, made the 53.
I think Cook is a pretty safe guess. Yeah.
Loudermilk spent a lot of time inactive last year. I don't see if that's changing.
Loudermilk. I agree with Loudermilk. It's the other 3 that I don't have, and I don't have the roster in front of me, so it's harder to figure out. But I'm not sure about Golden. I think Golden does play just because they like to spell TJ so much.
Okay, I was only thinking, because there's only right now 4 inside linebackers.
Right.
And the 3 main ones are going to play. And Mark Robinson has been contributing on special teams.
So he's going to be out there playing teams, yes.
Herbig is playing special teams, even though he's a rookie and, that he's the TJ Watt 2.0. He's going to be dressing. People say Gunner might be inactive, but I don't know. Just when I hear Kenny, he's playing special team. He's been contributing too on special teams. And the way Kenny says he's my number 4, I still want to see some Calvin Austin before I'm willing to not dress Gunner.
Right, and it's not like they're not going to dress Calvin Austin.
Well, yeah. I mean, unless he fumbles or something. Then the other option would be this new corner who, like I said, I think might still need a week to learn.
It could. I mean, I could see him taking a week off. I could see them making Pierre inactive too. I mean, it depends
really
on
with
how
the special team. I mean,
how far this guy gets. Well, I mean, because you still have Boykin on special teams. You still have Killebrew at 2 genuinely great special teamers. One of which they built. I don't think Boykin had the same reputation when he came to Pittsburgh. I think he's really become a great special teamer here.
Well, if it's not James Pierre, then it's going to have to be Joey Porter Jr. or because Elijah Riley is already playing.
He's playing
good
special teams. Yes.
Maybe that Chandlin Sullivan.
And in fact, that if maybe King takes a position from him as opposed to Pierre too. I don't know how much special teams Sullivan plays, but he also had some real nice plays in the preseason. I mean, I know they were against the backups, but that tip the interception to yourself and catch it on the way down. That's pretty amazing. Whoever's throwing it. But I mean, the fact is, this is good. We're having this discussion. I mean, I forget if it was Kazor or somebody else that put up last year's roster, at the final cut to this year's roster, and it's a tremendous improvement. I mean, if we were doing this a year ago, who are your 5 inactives? It would have taken up half the show.
Yeah.
We'd have been trying. We'd have each had 8.
Well, it's we can't all be rosy. There's still blame Canada. Although blame Canada for the good news. Let's go to at Mark Cabali. Mark Cabali, Steelers preseason MVP. No, it's not Kenny. No, it's not George. It's Matt Canada.
That's how you get social media engagement. That is how you get the people looking at your post. And again, I'm glad we found a second smiling picture of Canada to use for this. It's not the one on the field. It's the one. This is the one at the press conference where I think he says something like, "I'm not going to answer that. How can I answer that?"
Yeah. What did Cabali? He asked him? He asked if they should teach Connor Hayward, because I guess Connor Hayward maybe got away with a little pushes on the touchdown he scored or something, and they're like, "Well, you gonna teach him that you can't really block downfield like that?" And he goes, "No, he scored touchdowns. Like we teach him to score touchdowns." I think that was his quote.
But I mean, again, this just shows, I mean, how truly how there's no brakes on the hype train, is that you can put this up and it's a hot take, but it's not an insane take. I mean, you're not just trolling people. You could make a case that he is the preseason MVP.
He's the Tuzar skipper of 2023.
There you go. We might have to rename that to the Canada Award, since as the Tuzar skipper reference becomes more and more removed and esoteric.
Hey, but we can't. It's not all praise. At Scarpizio, seen a lot of apologies to Matt Canada here on the past couple of days, which is odd because it's preseason. I'll be the first to give him credit when there's improvement. If there's improvement.
When it counts.
When it counts. I can't see it. When is credit due? Do we have to wait till we're 1-0? We were 1-0 last season.
They were 1-0 last season. They were 1-0 the season before that too. But I mean, it's interesting because in both of those games, you could argue the defense bailed them out, but the offense did make some plays in both games. I think a lot of the people saying I can't speak to Mr. Scarpizio, but I think a lot of the people saying I'll give Canada credit when it counts won't. But I mean, it's again, like everything else in sports, it's where you determine this is the point to give credit. Is it blowing out a team? Is it scoring more points than the other team? That's where I would be with it. For me, I would feel like this offense has truly arrived when they're a threat to score every drive, when they have a chance to score each drive. I mean, that's not saying that, I mean, that to me, when I look at this offense, I think it's genuinely dangerous. That would be a thing where I would be impressed.
When it's dangerous. I like that. Okay. And don't forget, if you want a blame Canada, you want to blame for the good or blame for the bad, the first batch has been sent out. If you messaged me either on TikTok or on Twitter or just emailed me, whatever. And if you want the Blame Canada sticker, just email either yinspod412@gmail.com, which no one did, or just Kyle Kreis at gmail.com, which is... and we'll send those your way.
There you go. That one landed in my bag.
Oh, very good. All right. Let's talk D. It can't just be all hot offense, okay? Right. At MP Frazier, Mike Frazier. We've talked a lot about the Steelers starting offense going 5 for 5 this preseason, but let's not overlook that the Steelers starting defense didn't give up a single point either. This is still a defensive team, is it?
Yeah, I think it well, I mean, that's still where the most experienced players are. I mean, that's still the part that's the more experienced players, the more greater accolades, certainly the more money. And that got close a few times. But yeah, the starting defense really was great this preseason. That's what got back to Kovacevic when this episode started. The first team preseason could not have gone better. I mean, that I agree with 100%.
Well, let's, I hate to jinx us, but...
Here we go.
At Pat McAfee Show, Pat McAfee. Can't wait to see what you do this season, TJ Watt. You go over 22.5 sacks, and we'll donate $500,000 to a charity of your choice. Instant jinx! That's like, oh, hey, if you hit 70 home runs, then you're going to be my favorite player. It's
Well, I mean, if what I forget who made the thing. Remember when TJ, hit the Baltimore quarterback behind the line of scrimmage, but they said it wasn't a sack because he was taking a step backwards. Remember that in the Ben's final regular season game?
Oh, they didn't give him
the sack because it was like because he was trying to run, he wasn't trying to throw, so it didn't count as a sack. So I mean, your point is valid, but that's what I thought of when I saw this here is that, and again, I see the argument. Okay, he's about to run, you just hit him too early, so it's not a sack. But it's like, but okay, you hit the quarterback behind the line of scrimmage.
You're exactly right.
Yeah. Well, 22 and a half sacks. I don't know. It's not.
That's an insane number.
And it's hard, to call that shot. I don't know.
Yeah.
TJ says he wants to break it, but I don't know if he's calling it himself.
Yeah, I mean, it's. There's a very small handful of players that ever could. There's still multiple in the game right now that could do it, and TJ's certainly one of them.
Well, if we're talking expectations,
we're always trying to get 8 pounds in a 5-pound bag.
Big expectations. Let's go to at Yinzer of Steel 07, Steel Yinzer. Can't wait to prove him wrong. We've got the ESPN analytics saying Steelers have a 34.4% chance to make the playoffs. Just a hair above 1 out of 3.
Right, which I don't mind because I can't imagine they, nor should they, factor anything preseason into that. I mean, I imagine this 34.4 hopefully is about where it was at January 8th, 2023. I don't know if that number has changed. I'm certainly not looking up ESPN analytics to know that. But if you haven't seen anything of this team from that final game against the Browns to today, then yeah, you're probably at 34.4%.
14 teams make the playoffs? 7 and 7?
Yes, I want to say yes.
Out of 32 teams? Is that how many we have still?
Yes.
So that's a 43.75% chance.
Yes.
Just the average. So ESPN is saying we have a below average chance to make the playoffs.
Well, and I think that also figures into maybe the division, maybe the sport's toughest division. Yeah. So I mean, so I can see that. Yes. I mean, it's also too, if you were betting, the Steelers have been right on the brink of the playoffs a lot of times recently.
Well, they should have said 42.5% then. That should have been.
There you go. That is a good point. Or just beneath it. Yeah.
Well, while we're talking Vegas, we found the secret Vegas line. Well, I didn't. Let's go to at Chris.
Oh, this was good research. I saw
Chris
this.
Halleck from DK Sports. Chris Halleck. What will the Steelers' record be this season? Vegas seems to think they could win a lot of games. So Chris went and broke it down. It turns out 14 of the Steelers' 17 games have a line set by Vegas. Steelers are favored in 10 of those games.
That's wild.
Already. Now,
that's wild.
Who's betting on? I mean, I can't think of anything more foolish than to bet on like a Week 4 game.
Oh,
now.
Much less a Week 12 game. I mean, this is real. If you're listening to this and doing that, it's 1-800-GAMBLER.
But according to Vegas, Steelers, if we go by the lines, Steelers will defeat the Browns, the Raiders, the Texans, the Rams, the Jags, the Titans, Packers, Cardinals, Patriots, and Colts, and will lose to the Niners, Ravens, Browns, and Seahawks.
Okay.
Now, 3 of those games don't have lines. If the Steelers were to split those games using Vegas lines, the Steelers will have a 12-5 record,
which absolutely gets you into the playoffs and maybe wins the division. But I mean, I kind of wonder if these last 2 things we've talked about are pretty close or pretty similar, just because of the teams you mentioned that the Steelers are, set to beat: the Browns, Raiders, Texans, Rams, Jaguars, Titans, Packers, Cardinals, Pats, and Colts. Boy, I don't have the ESPN analytics in front of me, but I imagine those teams are sub 34.4%.
They better
lot
be,
of them,
right?
A lot of them. Maybe not the Jags, maybe not the Pack, just because apparently they're also having an excellent preseason, from what I understand. But which I think is part of the reason that the Steelers hype maybe isn't as crazy in the national side, because Packers apparently had a great one. But I think these 2 stats might be saying a similar thing.
So I don't understand how Vegas can say, well, the win over under is 9.5 or whatever it is, 8.5.
Yeah.
But then if we go by individual games, we're favored in 12 games.
Well, I mean, a couple things. One, I don't know which individual sports book is saying what thing, and secondly, it's not about being in eternally consistent. It's about getting your money. So I mean, it's about getting someone to put this money down right now and get action on both sides, right? So you can get plenty of action, which I don't know enough about betting to know how you get action on the Steelers Colts game, which I believe happens. That's in December, right? Like, okay.
I mean, like I'm looking at the card. Are the Cards even going to have a team on the field by the time we get to?
Yeah. If Josh Dobbs is starting, I'll put a few bucks down on the Steelers. Yeah.
Sidebar: I follow Josh on TikTok.
Good.
He gets to the airport 20 minutes before boarding.
Wow.
I mean, dude, that's chaos.
Yes.
Absurd.
Yes, it is. I mean, and someone that knows more about aeronautics and flight than I ever will in many lifetimes.
Well, I know something about waiting in line, and you gotta be a Josh Allen to get that kind of treatment, not a Josh Dobbs.
Yes, that is wow. Wow.
All right. He didn't reply to me when I was like, "That's straight chaos, man." But, more bad news. This is from @Bill Barnwell. Bill Barnwell, ESPN. 4 teams likely to improve: Bears, Broncos, Browns, Rams. 4 teams likely to decline.
Not even decline. Most likely to decline.
Most likely to decline. Eagles, Giants, Steelers, Vikings. Decline from 9 and 8. I mean, right. And he says, well, since 2017, my columns are 23 and 6. My decline column 24 and 5. So,
I don't understand the last stat.
I think he's saying, like, every year he does this, he's right. He gets like one pick wrong out of these most likely to decline, most likely to improve.
Okay, but if the decline column is 24 and 5, aren't those teams winning, or am I lost?
Means his picks for decline have been precise.
Okay. I took it the opposite way. Like the teams that were declined were the teams that were winning.
I keep picking these declining teams.
Right. That's why I was. I mean, he was the one that was turned down to be in the Jaguars front office, right? I've seen people complain about Barnwell in the past. But I mean, yeah. It's each of those teams. The other ones I can kind of buy the case for. Did he go and did we see anything past this as elaboration for this why the Steelers would decline?
It's under a paywall, ESPN.
Okay,
I'm not paying for your content. Okay?
No, absolutely not.
Brooke Pryor and Bill Barnwell.
Yeah, a lot of views. Yeah.
I mean, decline. I don't know. Decline would mean. Actually, you know what? If they went 9 and 8 again, I would say
that felt like that would feel like a
decline.
That would feel like a decline because it wasn't growing when a team like it feels like it should. I mean, if they have about an inch of injuries, I could see that, but it's hard to look at them right now and think this is a team particularly on the decline. I mean, maybe, but it just seems unlikely.
One more thing on expectations at Mark Madden X, Mark Madden, have the Steelers changed their culture? How much will it help? And then he goes on to say, what's different is no AB, no Bell, no Juju or Claypool, no narcissists, no distractions, glue guys instead. I mean, I don't know. Like, on one hand, I'm kind of like, does he have a point? I don't want to put Juju and Claypool in this distraction.
I feel like it's sort of different than the other two, dramatically so. And the thing about narcissists and distractions, those are the kind of things. I mean, they're like diseases; they can flare up at any time. I mean, it's someday the guy that isn't a distraction today could be a distraction tomorrow. But I mean, it's been a minute since there is a season where there hasn't been something that feels like this. Well, there really wasn't last year, but I mean, the whole new quarterback thing, I think, was its own kind of, in its own way, as big a distraction as some of these other things, even though all the guys in it were the opposite of narcissists. But,
do you find this to be a more, do we have more glue guy? Do you feel this is a better team than the Killer Bee era?
No, I don't think all glue guys make a team better than that. Because I mean, now you're talking about an offense that was dangerous. That one could have scored at any time. The defense had its deficiencies, which is part of the reason those teams didn't go on to win championships. But yeah, I mean, I would trade a couple glue guys for an offense that dangerous. But there is something to. But it does seem. I'm not sure how Madden defines glue guys, but man, they went out and got like genuinely capable backups at every single position, just about. And I don't know what the definition of a glue guy could be other than that.
That is a reasonable expectation.
Basically, we have a better offensive line than in any of those years. That's what I see.
Yes.
So if that's going to be the glue this season.
Well, if you
then,
want a hot take, it's probably a better offensive line than the one that won the Super Bowl in Super Bowl 43.
Yeah, or 40 maybe. You know.
Well, I mean, it's hard to say that. I mean, it's Samal is great, but he's not a Hall of Famer. I mean, at least not yet. You know what I mean? Like it's that kind of thing. But it's yes.
Mm-hmm. All right. Well, I think that I see a band trying to make their way.
Oh, God.
A bunch of good blue guys. All right. Just a couple odds and ends here, starting with at Blitzburgh. Deontay Johnson and George Pickens were at the Woodland Hills Pittsburgh Central Catholic game on Friday night.
Wow.
Did you see what happened afterwards?
No, I did not.
Someone rear-ended DJ's Lamborghini.
Oh, jeez.
And I'm thinking, man, it would really bum me out if I rear-ended a Lambo. But then if it's like DJ got out and I'd be like, hey, I know you. You know, it's kind of like when I met Chase Claypool with the Ralphs, and I'm like, wait, is this a good thing or a bad thing?
Well, I mean, I don't like to think it was like a 15-year-old on their learner's permit going to watch their high school game. I mean, wow, that's a shame. I'm sorry to hear that. I see. Okay, and you have it written on the thing, got rear-ended on 376. It's not like it happened in the parking lot at the stadium. Okay.
I can't imagine what it must have been foggy. I don't know. There was a couple car. It was like they called it a pile up, but it wasn't.
Okay.
It wasn't
like a danger. It wasn't a dangerous situation.
No, but something happened where everyone was getting rear-ended, and man, I hate to be someone hits a Honda Civic, but then someone else is running into a Lambo. So, hopefully, well, I don't know. I'm sure it's insured.
I hope. Yes, absolutely. All right, so.
Let's go to. I'm gonna give the final. No, I won't give the final word. Let's go with AB 84. AB, it's back.
Mm-hmm.
With Big Ben, it's all love. With Ryan Clark, it's all love. I love my sensei, Coach Tomlin. Anything that any of us have said or done in the past is in the past. I think is this the rehabilitation is starting now?
You heard me say it's coming someday. I don't think the day is yet, because this came after a whole blitz of comments about Ryan Clark, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so I'll believe that tour has the foundation to begin when there's one of these without, as you use the word, chaos before it.
Well, I mean. Not that Ryan Clark has been in an apologetic mood lately.
Certainly.
He apologized
and
to
some lovely green suits on the Twitter. I like those green suits.
Yeah, he got promoted to
CW.
NFL Live. Is that what it's
something? I don't
NFL
know.
Today.
He was wearing a green suit, multiple green suits.
So he apologized to Tua, and now it seems like he's on the AB apology tour at. Real Clark 25, Ryan Clark. I say this and I mean it. AB is a Hall of Famer. I don't think he gets in on the first ballot because we know how that goes. But for a period, he was one of the greatest to ever do it.
I think I've said that on this podcast multiple times.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I agree.
So you're voting him in?
I'm not doing it for a long, long time. I might do it on my deathbed. Like it's when I'm in the moon nursing home, and it's and my hologram will vote for AB as I leave this mortal coil.
What's more likely to happen first, AB in the Hall of Fame or AB in the Hall of Honor?
Oh man, that's a great question. I mean, it's easy. The cop-out answer for me, what I immediately want to say is it depends on when and how this apology tour starts. I mean, like that's I could see it going two ways. Like it, you know what? Actually, no. I'm going to say the Hall of Honor because, and I feel like we might have just been talking about this off the air or somewhere else. It's just how bizarre the Hall of Fame process is. You need to get a Pittsburgh media figure. I think it's Lawley now. It used to be Ed Bouchette to stand up for you, and especially since Lawley, as you pointed out, is now employed by Steelers.com. Yeah. I kind of don't think he's going rogue on this. So I imagine when they're ready to, make amends, when they feel comfortable with it, then maybe that campaign can begin in earnest.
Could be a little older. We look at Louis Lips. He's getting a little older, maybe that kind of age. So maybe another 15 years.
Right. It's or maybe even, we get to a time years from now. I mean, it just hit me now because things with Iverson, an athlete that didn't go as crazy as AB did. But I mean, maybe there's a documentary series. Maybe there's a miniseries. Maybe there's a AB looks at AB, and it, and that kind of begins the campaign too. Like, I don't know.
I would watch that better than the Florida doc on Netflix. That was garbage. No no Joe Hayden, no Marquise Pouncey.
It's hard to believe.
I mean, come
or
on.
Even the other Pouncey, Mike. I mean, how fascinating Marquise and Mike are. Yeah.
And it was just an Urban Meyer, Tim Tebow love fest. Give me a break. I'd rather watch the Johnny Manziel one was better. I did watch that.
That was a lot more pathos. Yeah.
Let's give the last word to at Blitzberg. Survey shows 35% of Steeler fans wouldn't date a fan of a rival team.
Mm-hmm.
And at first I was like, oh, that's pretty ridiculous. But then the more I thought about it, I was like, if it's a hardcore fan,
right. It's something if it's like, oh, that's the team they grew up with. Oh, okay, we root for them time to time. We have a split thing. But if it's somebody that defines, it's a major part of who they are and what they do, that's something else. Like
which game are we going to watch, on Sunday?
Is this going to be weird in the house off of that? Like, yeah.
And if it's Broncos, okay, that's fine. There's a lot of Broncos fans. Trying to what else? Like out here, Chargers are hot.
Oh yeah.
But what about Baltimore?
Right. See, that's where it starts to get a little dicey.
Cleveland.
It's a lot of things you'd have to navigate within your relationship. I mean, look, obviously here at What Jin's Talk About, we're not telling you to give up on love. However, you do have to be reasonable about such things. I mean, you have to have priorities. It's like first love is Steelers. Right. Second love is... You can navigate after that. Yeah. Everything is obviously compromised in a relationship, but be true to who you are.
I don't think I could do it. I don't know.
It would be tough. I've been on certainly dates with, devout fans of other teams, but there's always a feeling like, is it going to work? And I don't think it's because they're Eagles shirt, but it's because going to college in Philadelphia. But yeah.
Oh, Eagles! Oh no, I couldn't. Philly, they're the worst. Only thing worse.
I could be fine with the Eagles. It's just the problem is, personally for me, it's not the Eagles shirt you wear. It's the other day of the week when you wear the Flyers one.
Yeah.
That's what we've been talking about.
True. Be lucky, Steeler Nation.
There you go.
You're very, very lucky.
Yeah, indeed.
Very, very lucky.
I hope all Steelers fans just heard that from beginning to end.
I hope you heard this.
What a treasure. How lucky you are. You're so lucky. You have no idea how lucky you are.
No idea.
None
so
whatsoever.
Let's keep the conversation going, shall we? I am on TikTok. That's really where I'm at. I say I'm on Twitter, and I'll respond to you on Twitter. So if you want to keep the conversation going, if you want your Blame Canada sticker, and what else? I don't know. Follow me at Kyle Kreis. Greg, how about yourself?
Yeah, I'm at Greg Benevent on Instagram. B as in Bravo, E-N-E, V as in Victor, E-N-T.
Next week, we've got a special show for you coming up. It's fantasy football season, but...
I hate fantasy.
It's like, who cares, right? So we're bringing you the ultimate all-time Steelers fantasy draft. Any Steeler from any era. We're going to put teams together and see who can come up with the greatest all-time Steeler roster. Is it even possible?
It might not be.
Or is it even impossible? Until next week, keep listening to Yours Coach.
Be their best selves. That's going to be required.
Stay in school.